And now this is an interesting combination. These are power boats, but they utilize more of a sailing style start. We are now within the 30-second. They all leave the milling zone and start heading toward the start line. And the key is to get to that start line a tick before that, after that 30 seconds runs out, and then get an approved start. And we are getting ready to go, our first semifinal, and we are green and racing here. Danny Close for Checo, Sam Coleman for Brady, Christina Lazaraga, and on the outside it is Lazaraga who got that great start. But look up on the boost a little bit now. Here comes Sam Coleman. They are literally foil to foil here, heading up into that first key corner.
That was a huge start there, both for Brady and Team Rafa. It looked like Brady had got the edge, made the timing perfect, but then Rafa came from the outside, but has slowed down a little bit going into this corner. But just look at this. Let's line up here. Team Brady, Team Rafa, Team Checo. Talk about athletes in the greatest fields of their sports coming together. It's amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, one thing, you know that these pilots are well motivated because they can't look at their owners and go, well, they don't know what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they do. And that's what makes it fun. But look at this run here as well. Team Checo, Danny Close has made up some serious time here, and in fact has slipped through and has picked up second spot just by a nose from Chris Lazaraga for the Team Rafa Racebird.
Now this is where it gets difficult when you're racing so close like this. They're so close. That wake is causing all sorts of turbulence against the Sea Racebirds, sending them all right, left, right and centre, whilst Team Brady is seemingly disappearing into the distance.
Well, the one thing here, as you point out, is if you're in the lead, you have the smoothest water. And that's a huge, huge thing here. And I mean, Sam Coleman is just checking out at this stage. But what a run so far by Danny Close. And for Chris Lazaraga, who was so strong in qualifying, struggling a little bit. And it may have looked at that point, folks, like Danny squeezed Chris just a little bit into that right-hander. Well, we've talked about one, these boats, it's a little tougher for them to make right turns than left just because of what we might call prop torque. But the other side of it is they can't see much behind them here. They're really enclosed in that cockpit. They have spotters that help. But look at the amount of time here that Danny now has been able to stay up on that foil. He's just booking right now. They figured something out after qualifying.
Absolutely. They make it look like it's just flat out racing, which, you know, to us it is, but there's so much going on in the cockpit. The amount of micro adjustments they're making on the wheel, you can see it there on the graphic there, that trim, how much that's changing. They're buttoning up and buttoning down on the wheel in order to get that foil in the perfect place to maximize speed in and out of the corners. But that's where you get a real benefit of having used steering wheels with pressing buttons and looking at dashes in other championships coming into this, whereas a lot of the others, maybe on the jet ski side and the powerboat side, don't have that experience.
And look at the lead here that Coleman has already built up at the end of that first lap, up by over 11 seconds. He is just putting on a little bit of a clinic out there right now. There you see Danny in the background for Team Checo as they are working up now. And the thing about when you do that mandatory long lap, when you're in the lead, sometimes you don't want to do that. You want to wait because you don't want to give up the potential of that nice smooth water in front. But on the other side of the coin, if a yacht goes by as you start that can make that long lap much, much bigger. So there's so much for the strategists to be thinking about.
Exactly, and where the long lap point is on this course layout, you know, right at the top end of the circuit is where the most turbulent water is going to be. Is where you lose that shielding of the coastline. You're probably going to be subject to the most amount of wake from passing boat traffic. So to have to go offline and go into that extra lap, then you open yourself up to turbulent water. But so, like you say, Greg, doing it in the cleanest water is absolutely crucial.
And right now, this is about as nice conditions as we've seen this weekend yet. You know, it's just these little ripples and the like, not bad at all, and they're really able to keep it up on the foil. And as you see, as they get into the turn, one of the things that Sam, in a conversation that we had, he said when you dip that foil, you want to make sure you don't get it too deep, because that's that biggest, you know, fattest, if you will, part of the foil, huge drag. And so you know, right there, he just got a little spray off it. He's really dialed in right now.
The balance is so important on these foils. You just want to be sitting in that perfect spot where the bottom of the hull is just kind of touching along the water in the center, avoiding too much shake or yawing from either side, where you're just getting your course and your position changed left to right. And Coleman is looking really, really well balanced here. And you look at the difference of what's going on in the background. Team Checo bouncing around a lot more as they come in and out of the corners. Team Brady looking very balanced.
Yeah, he just has this boat right up on that foil, no issues, just glides it in. There was, none of that violent drop when he just made that turn. They've really got this figured out. He's doing a nice job. And I mean, he has turned a lap at a 1:32.0, just dropped that to a 1:30.9 now as he comes through. Next closest lap was Danny at a 37. So, but look at this now. Lizaraga has started to find some more paces and is closing on Danny. Close. The margin is now down to under 2.5 seconds after having been fairly large comparatively.
There we go, Team Checo using their boost then just to kind of try and build that gap away from Team Rafa. We might be in a process now that if Team Checo and Team Rafa get in each other's way too much, you might have Brady coming round to meet them from the back.
Well, and I think that's, they've looked at the numbers, and you can see now Coleman for Team Brady has opted to do the long lap, and I think they've decided that with a margin of almost 30 seconds, he can do that long lap, stay in the lead when we get to the merge, and still have that smooth water. We've been sort of waiting, I think, for a run like this from Sam Coleman. He's so experienced in power boating, but we talked about it's difficult to make that adjustment. I mean, there goes Coleman just going out of frame on your left, and here is Close and Lizaraga. I mean, that's the margin that he has built up, and that included the long lap.
Yeah, and it's the sort of mastery of the water that you would expect from a two-time UK powerboat champion. But at the same time, doing it on a foil is a bit of a different matter. So it is just about getting up to speed with the feeling and with the adaptation to using the technology of these race birds.
And I love those shots looking back at the pilot, because you see some that just facial expressions galore. Coleman is just absolute calm concentration, and that comes from that experience you're talking about, doesn't it?
I think Team Brady, they're on a mission as well, because they started so well in Jeddah and Venice and then had that upset in Puerto Banús. This is their redemption story now, and Sam Coleman is writing the first chapter of that.
Boy, isn't he? And with a very quick pen. He is doing a superb job right now. Yeah, they came out of the gate, won both of the first rounds, and just superb. And right now, you can see Danny Close has been able to stretch that margin out once again. And if you look at the graphic on the top, you can see Coleman has his boost ready, as does Rafa. That's Chris Lizaraga. Now she hits it, and she's trying to make up time on Danny. Now, Danny has to wait till that cool down, as it's called, completes. Then he'll have boost ready. And I think that's what's frustrating Chris a little bit, because she boosts, she gets right up to him almost, then hers stops, and he can launch.
Yeah, that's the strategy. That you knowing, looking at the screen is the same way we are, seeing when the other teams are using their boost and altering when you use yours as a kind of way to counter that. Very much part of the strategy. And the other role within the team is what the spotter is doing right now from that high vantage point, seeing potential disturbances that might come in the wake, seeing what the other teams are doing and advising the pilots in the cockpit.
Yeah, and there's a lot of communication going on. Sometimes when he's in the zone like this, they're not going to talk to him. They're going to at one point they'll say long lap probably and let him pilot. Other times they'll be very chatty when they're talking strategy. But he's just got this hooked up right now, and we are coming around now. This should be it. About to complete lap number 5, and what a run he has put on here. Last turn for Sam Coleman. And the margin, it's fascinating, because the long laps have now been completed, and that margin is huge at this stage. So here we go, and Emma Kimmelainen, look at that. She is absolutely delighted with what Sam is doing out there.
Right, and you can't blame them, because this has been an incredible run. This is the perfect run. If you were to write it on paper, you wouldn't write it any better than this, would you? Perfect use of the long lap, great strategy, clear lead, clean water the whole way, spot on.